Evaluate the type of muscle fibers that would be required for a javelin thrower, a marathon runner, and an 800-meter runner. And this is a 9-mark question. For our 9-mark questions, they are split into three markers really. So we get 3 marks for AO1, which are points, 3 marks for AO2, which is explanation or examples, and 3 marks for AO3, which is our evaluation and our link to sport. So it's quite easy, or the easiest way to go about it is to split into 3 paragraphs where we make a point, we explain that point, and then we evaluate that point. You may also start with a short introduction, and this isn't essential, but it just gives you a chance to show the examiner a little bit about your knowledge, and it's also a really good way to structure your answer. So the introduction can just be one short line, and it might be as simple as saying that everybody has a combination of both fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. This question is set up really nicely for us because as part of our 3 main paragraphs, we can discuss in the first paragraph the javelin thrower, then the marathon runner, and then finally the 800-meter runner. So the javelin thrower, for our point on muscle fibers, we can say that a javelin thrower would mainly require fast twitch muscle fibers and specifically type 2X muscle fibers. So we need to have mentioned that type 2X. We then need to explain this for our AO2. So we could say this is because the javelin thrower requires a short burst of explosive energy in order to create speed and power. So we've not gone into loads of detail here, but we have explained why the javelin thrower requires type 2X muscle fibers. For our evaluation, this is when we go a little bit further, we add a bit more detail, and we might make a link to performance as well. So we can say this will enable the javelin thrower to throw the javelin a long way, but the limitation of type 2X muscle fibers is that the athlete will tire quickly, and this could affect throws later in the competition. This is due to a lack of oxygen being present in type 2X muscle fibers. So we've made a real evaluation there and looked at both the strengths and weaknesses of having type 2X muscle fibers. We can now go on to our next paragraph, which can discuss the marathon runner. So for our point, a marathon runner would mainly require slow twitch muscle fibers, specifically type 1 muscle fibers. So we must mention type 1. Explanation: type 1 muscle fibers contain myoglobin and have a good oxygen supply, allowing a marathon runner to run for long periods of time without becoming fatigued. So we're explaining why those type 1 muscle fibers are important for a marathon runner. So our evaluation AO3, this will allow the marathon runner to complete the long distance without exhaustion. However, a sprint finish may be required if the runner wants to win the race, meaning that type 2X muscle fibers will still be important for the runner. So once again, we are showing our all-round knowledge of muscle fibers. So we're saying that yes, a marathon runner needs type 1, but we're also thinking outside of the box about what point in the race they require a different intensity and might need type 2X muscle fibers. We then need to go on to discuss the 800-meter runner. And again, this runner is going to need a different type of muscle fiber. So for our point, an 800-meter runner would mainly require fast twitch muscle fibers, specifically type 2A muscle fibers. Explanation: this type of muscle fiber will allow the athlete to run at speed throughout the race, but the fact that there is some oxygen supply will prevent them fatiguing quickly. So we're analysing and explaining why this 800-meter runner needs type 2A muscle fibers. Again, for our evaluation, we want to weigh up any other muscle fibers that this athlete might need and give a little bit more detail. So this will allow the athlete to move quickly throughout the whole race and give them a good chance of winning. However, elite 800-meter runners will also require type 2X muscle fibers in the last 100 meters in order to finish with an explosive sprint finish. If you feel it's appropriate, you may add a very short conclusion, which again, like the introduction, might just be one line or a couple of sentences. There's no point in repeating yourself in the conclusion. So there's no point going through the same muscle fiber types again and discussing what you've already mentioned previously. But if you can think of any extra points that you'd like to get in, then you can get them down as part of the conclusion.